This video was brought to you by Patreon.
Hey you, how's it going? My name is Ruby Price and today I thought I would give a little bit of reflection on my transition and the things that I wish I'd done differently. So first things first, if you want an overview of my transition, I do have a video on that, so do go and check that out afterwards, but for now, let's take a look into the past. The first time I was coming to terms with my gender identity, way back in 2009, I came out as trans to a very select group of friends, and then so that I could feel much more comfortable online, I created an alternate Facebook profile. Now, I don't think this was a mistake. You could argue nowadays that making a Facebook profile is a mistake in itself, but I think where I went wrong with this was trying to obscure myself deliberately from the profile, whilst also trying to make it usable. Of course, adding my friends was obviously going to attract the attention of the people who I hadn't come out to yet, because there's a bloody algorithm designed to find your friends on that godforsaken website. And it wouldn't have taken a world-class detective to figure out that this profile was me. So when I undoubtedly received these accusations, I denied it. What I think I needed to do differently was either own it and double down on making the claim that the identity I had been forced to live with my entire life was incorrect, or to have not made the profile in the first place, given the fact that it was always going to be seen by the people who I didn't want to know about the transgender aspect to my identity. Ultimately, this all ended with me back in the closet to reflect upon my gender identity at a later date, and when it came to coming out online later, well, let's just say I had learnt my lesson. Jumping forwards to 2016, I was in my second year of university and I had just had the last of my 8 NHS-funded facial hair removal sessions at Christianos Laser Clinic in Leeds, and from that point, I had to start funding it myself. The final appointment had been a bit of a head spinner in itself. The clinician who had been providing with my laser hair removal for all of my previous sessions wasn't in for some reason or another, and I had a new woman providing me with the treatment, and when the session ended, we didn't organise another session before I left, so that I would then be able to arrange another session with my usual clinician. I wasn't in the best financial situation at this point, and without the next appointment already scheduled to regiment me into continuing the treatment, I kept putting off organising that next session, and my financial situation only ever got worse. You could suggest that the financial situation was enough of a justification to not continue the treatment, but I know that I could have made it work. All I needed to do was continue going to those appointments and spending a little bit extra out of my budget, so that I would eventually no longer have to require shaving my face every couple of days, because I would have been able to find the money. Most of my financial problems have always come from me seeing that I have extra money in my bank account and spending it no matter the consequence. So maybe by having those sessions and having less money in my bank account would have stopped me spending more money. It is a genuine regret that I never continued those sessions, and it's still a problem that plagues me today. That's why it's still on my to-do list as soon as I am no longer relying on universal credit and have the extra spending power to live beyond my means. And finally, one of my biggest regrets about my transition is that I only ever focused on the transition. I made a video about the post-op trans what now conundrum back in 2018, and that's exactly what I'm referring to here. Whilst I was transitioning, all I thought about was my transition. It affected who I hung out with, what I chose to do with my free time. My entire persona was built around my transition. And then when I finished transitioning, I didn't know what to do with myself. All my life, for the many years it took, I was zeroed in on the end. So when it was done, I was done. I got a bit unfortunate in that I finished what I considered to be my transition at the same time I finished my undergraduate degree in university, and 2 major journeys of my life finished at the same time and left me feeling as though I had stalled. It's not even that I had focused on transitioning that's the problem here, because it's not. It's that I didn't think to have something to do post-transition. Actually, I'll rephrase that. It's that I never thought I would actually be post-transition. It never occurred to me that my transition might actually end, and I'd stop being defined by how far along the transitional timeline I'd gotten. So it's not really a regret. It's short-sightedness. It's being faced with a mountain so unassailable that you don't realise you've reached the summit until you're on your way back down. And that's transitioning. These obviously aren't the only things that I wish I'd done differently during my transition, but I think it's also fair to say that had I done these things differently, I wouldn't be the person who I am today. And I don't know how I feel about that. Everybody looks back on life wishing they'd done something a different way, trans and cis people alike. But when these things are a part of your transition and ultimately shaped who you are today, well then you're always going to look back and wonder what if. So if you enjoyed that video, please do all that generic YouTube stuff, like, share, comment, subscribe, etc, etc. I do have a Patreon if you would like to support me further, and I do have a new single, Cynical, coming out very soon. As always, I have been Ruby Price, and I shall see you next time. Adios. Bye.